Hello, today I'm building in Moonwood Mill, and this is my comfort lot when I don't know where to build. I instantly go to this lot. It's like a 30 by 30. I feel like a 30 by 30 gives the perfect amount of space for a good landscape. I was able to like make it really blend in with the forest around it, and I really like this lot a lot. And so I even I'm pretty sure I just started another build on this that is going to be posted fairly soon. If not next week, it'll be like the week after that. I just can't help it. I was really trying not to build on this lot like so much, but it's the perfect lot and I love Moonwood Mill. I think the lighting is just like really, really nice for my sort of vibe that I like. Like I like the cloudy, gloomy atmosphere, but there's like a little bit of light to highlight some of it, which I really like as well. But this is for a shell challenge. So you'll see that the shell is already built, and that's because it was built by Sims 4 Luca on Instagram. I believe that they have a YouTube channel. Yeah, they are on YouTube too. So I'll have all their stuff linked below. But this shell challenge isn't due for a while, so if you like the look of the shell and you want to give it a try, you have plenty of time. It is due October 1st. And normally I don't start shell challenges this soon, but I've been really liking doing shell challenges. It's been a lot more like satisfying and easy for me than making up my own build, which sometimes can frustrate me depending on like how inspired I am. Because usually I'm inspired to do a landscape and then I get to the build and I'm struggling to come up with a shape. And then I'm like, this is kind of just looks like everything else I've ever done. But with the shell challenge, it's like I would have never come up with this shape myself. And I really like the octagonal entryway with like the rounded roof piece in the middle of the build. Like I really, really like that part and just every like detail of the shell just came together really nicely. It's like the perfect shape for one of my builds. I really liked this. And I used a lot more of the for rent items than like I've ever used. Like I don't really use these like fence pieces or the columns very often. And so when I was doing it, I was like, oh wow, these are some really good exterior items. And I'm surprised that I've never like thought to use it before. And I just kind of like stumbled on it while I was like looking through of what kind of vibe I wanted to go for with this build. And as it like goes on, I kind of felt like I was like, this reminds me of a Simly Sash build. And I was watching Sash, they just started streaming on Twitch recently, and she's also participating in this. But it's always interesting seeing other people do the same shell challenge that you're doing because we had like completely opposite floor plans and she put the door somewhere else. And it's always like it could be the same exact shape, but the builds look so drastically different. And I really like that about shell challenges. And that's also part of the fun of participating in a shell challenge. I have another one that I'm working on currently, and that is Simly Sash's like Twitch celebration shell, which is almost done as well. I did the exterior. It's just like I've been getting builds started like a lot to the point where I'm pretty sure I have like 6 or 7 um builds in my editing software drafts, which is not usual for me. Normally, I'm like struggling to even come up with one build for the week, and now I'm like I have so many in the works, which is like it's good and it's bad because now I'm like doing the voiceover for this build, but because I have so much else started and going on, I've kind of forgotten like any of my thoughts while I was building this. And normally I like to reflect back on like what I was thinking when I was building it, but I really don't remember at all. I do know that I want it to like slope up the landscape to that diagonal piece of the like house where the entryway is, because I knew that you can't put stairs on a diagonal. And so I'm so glad that my brain remembers that you could use terrain and your Sims don't have to worry about that. And the build is functional. I didn't playtest all of it, but the only part that I was concerned about not working was the bathroom, which you'll see later because the bathroom is very tiny, and I didn't think your Sims would be able to get through like this like weird hallway area that's like blocked by the sink kind of, but it managed to work after all. But okay, so I feel like I remember doing this part of the build, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a little lake, and I want to layer a whole bunch of like lush greenery around, and it filled in the space really nicely. I feel like this is like, I really like the landscape for this. It feels very natural, and even, like, on the gallery when you kind of, like when I go to upload it and, like, the thumbnail for the gallery, I was like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "This is kind of, like, iconic right now." And I don't, like, often think about that for gallery pictures, but I feel like it just, like I don't know, something happened. I was on autopilot, and I just really love this landscape. And so I did that like pond on that side, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, kind of like create some sort of balance and layer pretty much the same landscape throughout. I used the tall grass. Um, I think those are yellow flowers. It's kind of hard to tell right now. They look like yellow flowers, and I put some other sort of grass pieces in the like ponds, and I've been like like lowering grass into the ground a lot more lately, which I'm pretty sure I talked about in my last speed build video, where I think it really helps to just like not take over everything that's behind the grass, and it just like makes it look a lot more natural, and I really like that. And for the wallpaper, I feel like yeah, well, no, I definitely used wallpapers that I don't usually use, which also was kind of why I was like, this doesn't feel like my usual exteriors. And I do use that werewolf like wooden wall a lot, but like paired with that red brick, it felt like really different. And I don't usually use red brick, but red brick really screams like autumn and fall for me, and this feels like a very cozy house because of that little detail, and I really like that. I like the stained glass windows too. Um, I have a collab build that I'm working on that I use those same stained glass windows. The ones from Realm of Magic. I'm using two different stained glass windows in this, but the ones from Realm of Magic sometimes are really hard to place because I mean, we know the Realm of Magic swatches are a little bit questionable when it's like pairing with other wood swatches, and G Shade definitely helps it look visually appealing for a video or for photos. But in game, sometimes when I like turn it off, I'm like, it's slightly like the colors are so obviously not complementing each other, but there's only so much I could do. And like the worst thing that happens is someone tells me that my builds are horrible on the gallery, which if someone does that, then they like, okay, that's okay. You could think that. My voice was starting to go there, but I had a pause, and now I'm okay now. But I really like the backyard area for this, and I end up really enjoying the stone terrain paint that I use for this build, and I kind of layer it with some other like dirt path to tone it down, which I've gotten a lot better at because I used to really stay away from most terrain paints, like stone ones, because they're so bright and it's really hard to blend into the world. And like you could see that the green is like very much like a yellowish green. It's very bright, but when you start layering the dirt over it, it ends up being a little bit more natural. And I had also picked up another tip that I haven't like gotten to use yet, but I was watching Anna Sims Builds, who is the creator of the Last Shell challenge that I just did on my channel. She also streams on Twitch, and I watched her place down like cobblestone pathing, and then she'll use another stone path and starts to layer it so that it doesn't look so repetitive and it looks a lot more natural. And I was like blown away while I was watching that. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm just picking up all of these sorts of little tricks from her. And I was also a build. She was like doing her own shell challenge, and she was using these beautiful Realm of Magic rocks. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to steal that from you. But then I was like, AKA respectfully crediting you when I use these rocks in a future build. And I actually did start using them in my next shell challenge build video that I'm working on, which is Sasha's shell challenge. And it's like, I really like that landscaping too. Like, I feel like every time I build, the house is like secondary. And I really mostly am proud and happy of the landscaping. I feel like that's like, if the landscape looks good, the house, I'm like, okay, the house was like whatever. I really do like this house though, but I don't think that the house would look as like detailed if it wasn't for like me spending a lot more time on the landscape of the builds. That's just how I like to build. It's like my favorite thing, which I've talked about a lot anyway. I feel like I don't need to go over the same talking points over and over again. But I also just like when I showed up for this voiceover, I was like, I don't even know what to talk about because again, I like have so many builds in like the works right now that I'm like, I don't know what was going through my head while I was building this specific build. I know that I like it, and I know that it looks very pretty and cozy, and I don't even know what the name of this build video is yet, but I guess I'll figure that out because I've got a couple days to post it. Um, and like I think that another thing about my builds that I feel like is like makes them my build is that I put like the bushes on the roof, and I've been layering more flowers on the roof as well. I've been really liking the yellow accents with the get together ivy, and so I put some yellow flower bushes on the roof, and even like the back garden has a whole bunch of yellow flowers. Um Flowers that I haven't used in a build yet, not the ones in the front, but in the back, as I just said. I don't know why I'm specifying again. But for, like, the colors of the build, it's all brown and yellow. That's pretty much the entire exterior. There's some of those trees that have the white flowers on it, which I really have been enjoying layering in with like evergreen trees and like the big oak trees. I feel like it breaks up some of it and helps them to not blend into each other. So it's kind of like defining definition piece. I feel like I didn't have to say both of those words together. I feel like they mean the same thing. I also like these window boxes. This is another item that I don't use those, and I think they might be from Discover University. I believe the first swatch of them is red, and maybe that's why I never look through that, or I never like go to grab it and use it in my builds because I'm like, this red swatch is not gonna work, so I'm not gonna look through the rest of the swatches. But there was the perfect swatch, and it is like a lighter wood, but I feel like it was okay. And I don't know if I keep it in the front window there. I do think it looks a little bit like strange in the front, but I might have just like accepted it and just kept it there anyway. But it also has yellow flowers inside of it, so it felt like it worked really well for everything. And I had some more pops of yellow on the roof here too. And I layer bushes and more bushes, and I forgot that I didn't say what the rules of the shell challenge were. This build uses just the regular shell challenge rules. I didn't see any pack restrictions like for it. I don't think that they're going to tour the build at all. I believe that they're going to share every entry on their Instagram, and then like their favorites they post as an Instagram post, which is like what I usually see for shell challenges. But now we're finally we're finally at the interior of the video. We're 14 minutes in. Shell challenge exteriors take forever for me. That's just how it goes. But I think that the interior probably goes a little bit faster. It is a small interior, and I was struggling. Wow, random huge cut there. I don't know what happened. Oh, okay, I know what happened. I was messing around with the walls over and over again for a very long time, and that's why there's a big cut. But it was because the like floor plan would not let me close in that one bedroom without all the roof going in, as well as like the rounded roof, which the rounded roof raised up on a like foundation is going to cut into your houses, and there's just like no workaround for it besides lowering it back down. And so I was like, okay, I can't close off that bedroom. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a door there, I'm gonna put some columns, and then the part where it's like no wall above the door, I'm just gonna put curtains, and I'm gonna pretend like it's a closed in wall. And luckily, it is also functional. Your Sims just open the door normally and they walk right through, so it does not matter. And I didn't have to do anything with the fact that the roof, every single roof kept going into the build. And it was like, okay, like I feel like it's barely even noticeable unless you're, like, really looking. Maybe it's, like, you could glance and you're like, "What is that?" Like, be a little suspicious, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. I mean, your Sims will register that as one whole room because the walls aren't closing off, which maybe would cause issues for, like, gameplay. I'm not 100% sure, but that was the only workaround I could do, to prevent all the roof from destroying my floor plan. And down here, it is like a very cozy floor plan down here. The rooms are very small, but I feel like it works. And there's just like the kitchen off to the side as soon as you walk into the door. And I used these yellow cabinets just to like add some more color to the build instead of using my like normal, like darker wood cabinet swatch. Mostly because my last builds, I felt like this interior and that interior were very similar to each other. I think it's because I used like similar wallpapers and similar wood flooring. And I was working on both of these interiors at the same time. And last week, I was like, I had to stop because I felt like I was just making the same interior twice. And like, it's going to be like uploading like one week after another. And like, maybe that's boring. And so I was like, okay, let's take a little break from it. And it's just like, because like sometimes when I'm building, I really just start to like specific items and I want to use them like over and over again. So I believe that I used those same chairs for it as well. Long pause there. I guess I didn't cut out me looking for the stool, but just bear with me. I needed to make sure there's a fireplace, and I always make sure there's one fireplace, because I need like the chimney smoke and the entry video. I don't need it, but it like it adds a little bit of like detail and something to look at for the build, especially if I do shorts. Like I used to do reels for every build, and that was usually my thought that I was like, I need the chimney smoke. I also used to need fountains for the reels too, but I've taken a break from doing like short form content because I felt like it was stressing me out a little bit. And it's definitely harder to grow on Instagram if you're not making shorts, but, like, I feel like it's been okay. I used to post, like, almost daily on Instagram, and I'm like, "No, I can't really do that anymore. I need to, like, focus my energy elsewhere." And I definitely think that my, like, builds get more engagement just posting 1 post a week, which is, like, at least good to know because a lot of, like, creators will tell you, like, "Oh, Instagram, you need to post, like, multiple times a day. You need to be posting these reels." And it's like, I'm not, like, experiencing, like, huge growth or anything, which is fine by me. It's, like, very, like, steady, growth and, like, consistent engagement, which is always nice for my build pictures and stuff because a lot of work goes into my builds and I really like sharing them. And so it always like feels good when other people enjoy the build and can enjoy all the work that went into it because it's like a week-long process of building, editing, taking the pictures, writing the captions, doing the like image descriptions. It's like a lot more than you would think, but I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy creating videos for YouTube. I like the whole process, which is really nice. I was talking to a friend recently about that where I was like, Twitch, I feel like I do enjoy streaming, but I don't enjoy streaming the same amount as I enjoy like making videos and this sort of process. And so it's been a lot nicer when I kind of refocused to YouTube instead of focusing on Twitch because my energy is easier to maintain here than like showing up live, which I still really do like streaming and I do want to attempt some YouTube build streams eventually. Maybe not like dedicating like consistent schedule to it, but every so often to see how I like it and see how it goes. Um I kind of like I started like my thoughts just went all over the place. And I wanted to mention the bathroom because I had brought that up earlier in the video and then I kind of talked over it. But you could see when I was doing the bathroom how narrow the space is to get from like the door all the way to the toilet. Surprisingly, it functions. I didn't even have to move anything over. And so that was a pleasant surprise because I did not know what else I could have done for the bathroom. And then it would have just had to have been a non-functional build. And if somebody needed more space, they'd have to like edit the shell. I can't edit the walls, but if someone downloads it, they could add extra rooms onto the builds and stuff like that. But one of the main rules of shell challenges is that you can't edit the walls at all. And you kind of just have to go with what is like there. But now we're in the hallway area and you could see what I was talking about earlier with the doorways and the curtains. It's barely noticeable that the wall isn't there. It really like it won't make much of a difference. And so if you're ever building something and the roof is giving you so much trouble, you could try something like that. I'm sure there's other curtains that would look nice, like to hide the fact that there's no wall there. I just used some square ones. There's only two sorts of square ones that are like that exact shape, which I feel like I preferred when I was looking through the curtains. There's the ones from the Cozy Bistro kit, as well as I believe it's Growing Together has a square curtain. I mean, they're both my favorite curtains in the game. I use them everywhere. um, but yeah, here is just the hallway leading to the two bedrooms of the house. I put like minimal clutter into the build. I didn't go all out for this one, where like some of my like recent builds, I put a lot more time into the clutter. This one I just kept pretty simple. And I was going to try and clutter the this bay window area, but it's just like sometimes it's just more trouble and it's not worth it. And I decided to just layer two of these dressers together to kind of make one longer dresser. And I just put clutter in where it snaps. And the lighting, like when you put stuff into the bay windows, the lighting definitely sometimes is a little bit weird because it's registering as outside and you could see that I can't really put the books where I want them to. And that's where I was like, Megan, not today. This is not happening for you today. So you're just going to keep the clutter simple. You're just going to place what snaps onto the existing area. And the bedroom is like pretty small. I've been putting the double beds against the wall, which I've said like in other videos that I don't really like doing because I don't like I don't like the idea of a sim depending on another sim to move out of the bed to get out of the bed. But lately, I've just been like, okay, I just need to do this. this is okay for now. I usually don't, but I do like how beds look against the wall a lot better than trying to like force a side between each. And I really like the plant corner of this build and an easel. And I was like, oh yeah, this would be the perfect painting spot. And when I put the easel down, I was like, oh yeah, and I have like a whole painting thing downstairs in the living room, which I completely rambled over before. So you either missed it or you had seen it. And I was like, wow, see, I knew easel, painting supplies downstairs. A painter lives here, and they have a kid because I made this kid's bedroom over here. And I put in different toys and different plushies and stuff. And this is like a nice sized bedroom, I think. It has everything that you would need. I wanted to use a vanity for this build, and it didn't really fit in the other bedroom, and it would have blocked some of the bay window, which I really didn't like. So I was like, okay, so I'm building the other bedroom around the fact that I'm using this vanity over in here. I also want to make a note that the colors that I used for the interior is like blues, yellows, and just like lots of brown, and that's the whole thing for the build. Even downstairs, I think I used mostly yellow accents around. It's just it felt the most natural. The outside had yellow accents, so the inside has yellow accents, and blue complements yellow, so it just naturally ended up happening that way, mixing in a bunch of plants and stuff like that. But I really like that console table area with the different sorts of like kids clutter. I don't often do kids bedrooms, but I think that might be one of my favorites that I've done in a while. And here are all the screenshots. You could just like see what the build looks like. Um yeah, that's that's it. I there isn't that much space, so you really only see a few rooms and a couple of different angles for each of the bedrooms. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm not sure what video I'll have up next week because again, I have like 6 videos planned. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.